my mother passed away while I was still incarcerated. Uh, Ended up that she was my mother's pastor. She was my mother's best friend. My mother was her first member in the church that she started over 15 years ago while I was still in
This has
prison.
been a year. When did we start this thing? About a year and
Like
4
a
months
year, 4
ago?
months, yes.
A year and 4 months ago. And it was a vision that you had. So do you want to talk about that? Where did that vision come from? This is a fun part, right?
God gave me this vision while I was still in prison. He gave me a vision in 2019. I was still incarcerated, getting closer to coming home, and God started touching my life. And I had to be receptive to His calling and stuff. And then He gave me a vision and spoke to me and telling me about a nonprofit and what He wanted me to do. I accepted it, of course.
And that was what year? 19, you said?
Yeah, 2019.
Okay, and you were
Yes.
still in prison at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
I got out in 2021, and I just what God really wanted me to do is to keep praying on it. He spoke it to me, I accepted, and He wanted me to pray on it. So from 2019, I got out in 2021, but He didn't bring it to pass into 2024.
Right. So let's talk about that then. So I met you in, I want to say 22?
Yeah, 22.
22.
Yes.
And you told me pretty early on in our relationship about, or friendship about this vision you had.
Yes.
And I've always, all right, fine, so, what did we do? We went around, just met people, and
Yes.
we started working a little bit together on just some grassroots stuff. And,
Yes.
but then, so that led into what? Where you kind of went out and tell a story. Again, this is the best way to do it. Tell the story about when you decided to actually move on the thought, on the prayer or the vision.
Okay, well, we had been doing a little work here and there. You started introducing me to a lot of people that were working in different nonprofits, and helping other individuals. And I thought that I would help out, thinking, well, this is what God spoke to me, but I wasn't feeling it. And then through that led contacts that were given to you to be able to reach out, and which was Pastor Shatigo,
Right.
which I had no clue at that time who she was. That we were able to get a contact, and then that she was doing the same thing on the vision that God had spoken to me.
Right. And so let me jump in real quick. So we always talk about, we'll close the gap on the story a little bit, but the fact is you're looking for a mission, and somebody has all the materials you need.
Yes.
It's like literally just boom, done.
Yes.
I don't know, it's amazing.
Oh yeah. And finally, through you, of course, the time came. We're gonna fast forward to 2024. God spoke to me again, and He said that if I was still gonna do His work, and of course I told Him yes. And then He told me He wanted me to get up and walk, which I had no clue what that was going to come about, or how or what. I kind of freaked out, a little, because I don't have nothing and I don't know nobody.
What do you do, right?
So you were the first person that I reached out to, telling you, hey, do you remember the contact that they gave you a year and a half before?
Right.
And you told me yes. You sent me a newspaper article.
Yeah, I was lazy, by the way. Let me throw this out there real quick. He asked for a contact instead of giving him a nice clean contact. I just sent him an article. He had to read the article.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of friend.
Yeah,
come on.
And you did. And the first thing I looked at him, I'm like, man, he didn't give me what I wanted, So I ended up calling my wife. I called her, and I was at work. I still remember to this day. It was a Wednesday. I was at work. I called her, and I told her, I said, look, this is what James gave me. Can you look up and get me a telephone number? That's all I need, and I'll do all the talking and make contact or whatever.
Great stuff.
And it was of a Pastor Shatigo, and she was doing the ministry that God has spoken to me about.
Right, right.
And, you know, and I had no clue what this was going to come out or how it was going to come out or go about or whatever. You know, I just needed to make contact, you know. And I did. I called her. I told her the visions that God had given me.
Now, let me ask you real quick. What is the name of her church?
Redeemer's Praise Church.
She's over off of Pine Street on the east side, right?
Yes.
Correct. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Wonderful place, buddy.
Oh, yes.
Lord, come
Lovely
on.
lady, lovely
Amen.
pastor.
Lord, come on.
So I contacted her, told her what God has spoken to me, the vision that He had given to me from 2019, explained everything to her from me being out and, God finally speaking to me, and, at that time, 2024, and telling me what He told me, that He wanted me to get up and walk,
Right.
And I told her what He had put in my heart, was to come out here to the streets, and come and feed His children.
And you didn't know who she was. You didn't know her church. You nothing. At this
No
point.
clue.
Okay.
No clue.
Pastor Chico. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so she told me if that's what God has spoken to me, and if I was serious about this mission, that for me to come Saturday and she would give me all the food that I wanted. That was a door open.
Amen.
Yes. For
Amen.
me not being kind of scared, not knowing what I was going to do, whatever, just to calling her, making contact with her,
Right.
and the door open like that, and giving me everything.
Now, I know this sounds like a wonderful story, like a heartfelt, wonderful story, but there's a plot twist. Come on. What happened next?
Well, Saturday came. I went and made contact. I recognized her from the newspaper article because, the one you sent me and stuff. She's an African woman. There was a lot of volunteers at her church that Saturday. A lot of moving parts. People bringing stuff in, out, and, just a lot of moving parts. Like I said, I recognized her. I made a little beeline in between everybody. When and she saw me, and she was there just looking at me, smiling. And I went to introduce myself. And as I introduced myself and told her, hey, I'm so-and-so, I contact you Wednesday, and this is what you told me. So she just kept looking at me and just kept smiling and stuff. So at the end of everything, she asked me for my name again. I told her my name again, and she just kept looking at me for a second. And then the next words were that if I was Mama Rosa's son.
Come on.
Mama Rosa, they used to call her, that was my mother. My mother passed away while I was still incarcerated. Ended up that she was my mother's pastor. She was my mother's best friend. My mother was her first member in the church that she started over 15 years ago while I was still in prison. And I had no clue who this lady is. Never met her before. She buried my mother when my mother passed away, and I have no clue of none of this. She's telling me all this, and she recognized my name. That's why she asked me for the second time, what's your name again? When I told her, she said she heard my mother for years coming to her church, crying on the altar, screaming to God and crying for God to bring me home and to change my life so I wouldn't go back.
He's going to try to make me cry here. Come on.
I spent 21 and a half years in prison. Like I said, I have no idea who this woman was. So when she's telling me all this, it just broke me. I started crying, and then she starts telling me all these stories of, my mother coming to the altar, how she started her ministry when God spoke to her, how she met my mother, and how she would come to minister in my mother's living room. That's how she started her church.
Amen.
Before she had a building, she had nothing. She started her ministry in my mother's living room, and my mother was her first member.
And all this little teeny coincidences
how
I.e. God.
yes, God,
Glory,
God brought
come on.
it. God brought it.
Come on. You can't say it.
To be a testimony to me
Amen.
that
Come on.
God is real
Come
and He will answer, and also be a testimony to her that all them years that my mother cried on that altar, that there was the prayers being answered, and it also, God gave her something back, because she says that ever since she lost my mother, she'd passed through 35 where my mother used to live at, and she remembers my mother, and she would break down and cry because she felt that when she buried my mother, a piece of her was buried, because she had not only became my mother's pastor, but a real close friend. So now, coming in circles and me being out, God answering the prayer, not only changing me and the life that I used to live, but bringing me home. Also, God gave her something back, because now she felt that God gave her a piece of my mother back.
Wow, that's just a testimony. If that's not a testimony, and let me tell you, I was there for the whole thing.
Yes.
I was there for the whole thing. It's unbelievable. It's like I can't deny Christ, because what I saw.